Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. In our top story, INEC shadows 5th of December for supplementary elections in Kogi State. Asks APC to replace Abubakar Audu. The All Progressives Congress announces plans for a fresh primary election to pick replacement for Abubakar Audu. President Muhammadu Buhari says past government officials who stole public funds have started returning their loot voluntarily. And outside Nigeria, Turkish military shoots down Russian military aircraft on border with Syria. Thanks for joining us on the news tonight. We'll begin in Abuja, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it will conduct supplementary elections on December 5 in 91 polling units, where the governorship election was cancelled in Kogi State last Saturday. It added that having been notified of the demise of Abubakar Audu, APC's candidate in the inconclusive election, the All Progressives Congress is to fill the vacancy created by the death of its candidate. INEC returning officer for the election, Professor Emmanuel Kucha of Federal University of Agriculture, Makodi, had announced Audu as having polled 240,827 votes to top election, with Wada scoring 199,514 votes. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, on Tuesday insisted that his party has the legal right to replace a candidate who died in the course of an electoral process. This, according to him, is based on the provisions of Section 33 of the 2010 Electoral Act. The Attorney General, who spoke on the sidelines of a seminar organized by the Nigerian Law Reform Commission in Abuja, also maintained that the votes cast during elections are for the political parties. He hinged his argument on Section 221 of the Constitution. Malawi also confirmed that a supplementary election had to be conducted as directed by INEC. In difference to INEC's position, the All Progressives Congress has announced plans now for a fresh primary election to pick a replacement for Abubakar Audu. Party Chairman John Odigio-Yegon confirmed that the decision on fresh primary was taken after APC leaders got a letter from the electoral body on the need to replace Audu. He told journalists at the party's national secretariat that details of the primary would be known after a meeting of party leaders. The federal government is intensifying efforts to launch a nationwide reorientation campaign before the end of the year. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said this on Tuesday in Abuja at a meeting with heads of different agencies in the ministry. Mohammed noted that the meeting was convened to present the template for the massive campaign targeted at ensuring positive change among Nigerians.
The very campaign must take on the discipline The lack of respect for time, loss of our time-tested values, and generally lead to institutional change in such a way that there will be a paradigm shift in the way we do things. This is also in line with my mission as Minister of Information and Culture. Ladies and gentlemen, I put enormous work into the presentations that we're about to show you. Consider them the template for the campaign, but please feel free to critique them and make suggestions so that the campaign can be ready on time for its launch this year, hopefully.
President Muhammad Buhari has disclosed that some past government officials who stole public funds while in the saddle have started returning parts of the loot to government coffers voluntarily. President Buhari disclosed this during an interactive session he had with members of the Nigerian community in the Islamic Republic of Iran on the sideline of the 4th Summit of Gas Exporting Countries Forum in Tehran. He, however, did not name the former government officials who have so far returned parts of looted funds or disclose how much had so far been returned to the public treasury. The president added that trials of treasury looters would have commenced, but for his administration's determination to conduct thorough investigation and gather more evidence needed to prosecute watertight cases. Adding that unlike what was applicable in 1985 when he was a military head of state, that suspects could be detained while being investigated, democracy and rule of law do not encourage that. Meanwhile, the president also disclosed that sabotage and theft of gas would undermine the efforts of the government to increase power supply in the country. He made the remark during a question and answer interaction with the Nigerian community in Tehran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. To check the trend, he said existing military task forces will be reorganized to ensure successful protection of the network of gas pipelines in the country. President Buhari, in a statement by Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, noted that sabotage of pipeline installations continues to be a problem despite improvement in power in the recent period. According to him, Nigeria has everything it takes to generate enough power. And away from that story, Nigeria looks set now to unbundle a long-awaited oil law to speed up its passage through the parliament. And of course, the petroleum industry bill has been gathering dust since 2008 because of disagreements between the government and global oil majors over its terms. Our correspondent Sarah Ayeko has details in this report.
The idea of the petroleum industry bill began in 2007 following the recommendations of a presidential committee set up to carry out oil and gas sector reforms in the country under the leadership of late Musa Yar'Adua. The reforms were expected to form the nucleus of Nigeria's aspiration to become one of the most industrialized nations in the world by the year 2020. Given the far-reaching reforms it will give to the petroleum industry, the Petroleum Industry Bill is arguably the most talked about legislation in the country. However, this bill has not left the legislative oven since December 2008. Owing to this new administration, the 8th National Assembly has promised to give it another shot.
The Senate Committee on the Petroleum Upstream, Downstream and Gas, the oil and gas industry remains the lifeblood of the Nigerian economy. The industry is going through a downturn period, which represents also the opportunity for us to reform the local industry to meet the challenges changing times. Attempts in the past to reform the industry through the Petroleum Industry Bill have not been able to go full circle for a number of reasons. Significantly, this Senate this time round has adopted the PIB as one of our legislative agenda. It is our intention that this time round we will break this jinx. And in Senate, in doing that, very soon we hope that we will be able to come up with the PIB for first reading. After that, the effort now depends on the Senate committees of upstream, downstream and gas. We challenge you that once these bills are brought before you, they should receive prompt attention And let us move from the past that some of this bill PIB stays for months and months with the committees to ensure that we implement and deliver on this promise.
With this charge given to the committee, there are speculations that this bill will meet the same fate it encountered in the 6th and 7th Assembly. Yet, these analysts are optimistic about this administration.
I do not take anything away from the committee. They are able to do, Nigerians are able to do anything that they put their minds to do. I do not look down upon the National Assembly. I believe that they mean well for Nigeria and are going to do what they ought to do under the able leadership of the Senate President and the Deputy Senate President. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
The PIB, well, my take really on it is that it's just being introduced into this Senate, and I hope that those that are involved, the chairman and the members of that committee, and you know, the composition of the committee, people had problems. They say, oh, okay, it's from this political party or it's from the other political party. I hope and believe sincerely that they will allow the bill to see the light of the day.
Following the assurance given by the Senate House on the petroleum industry, one can only hope that the bill will be enacted into law for the resuscitation of the oil and gas industry. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Meanwhile, the senators directed its committee on petroleum upstream to investigate the recurring fuel scarcity in the country. The mandate is in response to a motion tabled by Senator Ibrahim representing Kano North on the lingering nationwide food shortage. Senators also urged the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC and other stakeholders to continue to push to stem the tide. We'll take a break now, and I'll be back with more stories. Stay with us.
It's a new dawn in Nigeria, and the mantra is change. The wind of change is blowing all over Nigeria and beckons to you. One sure way to respond is to perform your civic duty, pay your tax. With taxes, government generates revenue to fulfill its electoral promises, ensure regular power supply, provide good security, standard education, medical care, true total change. Individuals and corporations enjoy specific benefits, rights and privileges for paying taxes and avoid the consequences and penalties of not paying. Oil revenue is no longer sufficient to bring desired change, but your tax can. It pays to pay your tax. A message from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
The man on the streets have come to realize that the power to make decisions lies in the hands of the people.
I don't think there is. 5 local government out of the 30 local government is more than many states in the north. The economy is booming. Where is the economy booming? Blast in Abuja. Don't you have security? Why are we fighting? President should not just sit in Abuja or in Asokoro or wherever he lives. Tell us are following the local. They know them. They cannot be there and be here at the same time. The life of the citizens, community need to be protected.
It can't work out.
Bring the message of peace. Let there be proper devolution of power from the center. The center is too powerful.
It's time to do the best. But people are hasty. Why are you hasting? Why are you hasting? Why are you hasting? Why let's say conjugal?
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're on to CoreTV Primetime News. A recap of our top story. INEC schedules 5th of December for supplementary elections in Kogi State, asks APC to replace Abubakar Audu. The All Progressives Congress announces plans for a fresh primary election to pick replacement for the demised candidate. President Muhammadu Buhari says past government officials who stole public funds have started returning their loots voluntarily. You can get all of our top stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. Our Twitter handle is at CoreTV News NG. We're streaming live on YouTube. It's youtube.com/CoreTV, live space and news. The House of Representatives is to investigate the alleged violation of the right of first refusal for local contractors in the oil and gas industry. This was on the basis of a motion moved by Lovett Idris, who argued that oil and gas contracts in Nigeria are almost always awarded to foreign companies to the detriment of Nigerians. Correspondent Jamil Afegwa now reports.
The investigation is to be carried out by the House Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream. The committee is to, among others, invite the Nigerian Content Monitoring Board, the National Petroleum Investment Management Services, the Department for Petroleum Resources, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to explain the perennial violation of this all-important local content.
The practice where oil and gas contracts are awarded to foreign companies without feasible effort to execute the contracts for up to 3 to 4 years. The clear case here is found in the NNPC, Chevron, Navy, joint venture contracts in 2010, and today's assets are still not developed.
Supporting the motion, Minority Leader Leo Ogo argued that the major challenge confronting Nigeria is the impression that foreigners are better at carrying out these contracts than Nigerian contractors. Other federal lawmakers insist that the local contractors have to be protected.
The issue of local content is an issue we must be prepared to address and continue to address in the interest of the project Nigeria. There is this funny mentality that, foreigners are probably better off than us in project execution. And the answer is capital no. I believe that the essence of the Local Content Act is to address some of these issues where we have capable hands, where we have people that have the technical know-how, where we have people that have the managerial ability to address some of these issues, mostly in the oil sector and a host of other sectors.
Today, we have brought about the issue of oil and gas. But to mention, even in the power sector, the Electricity Reform Act and the Act establishing NEC, which is the regulatory body of the electricity industry, also stipulates local content. The essence of this is that Parliament is conscious of the fact that these are ways of protecting transfer of technology.
The man behind the motion later shed light on the rationale for his move.
The need to bring it to the House of the Floor is to have a situation where Parliament deliberates on such an important issue and where necessary recommend such motions to the relevant committees to be able to implement sanctions and penalties and fines, if necessary, on defaulting multinationals and even our NNPC and our regulatory bodies in the oil and gas sector that are actually involved in this kind of practice.
The committee is expected to turn in the report in 5 weeks. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, on Tuesday turned down what would have resulted into a religious argument when the motion seeking to curb population explosion in Nigeria was tabled. Raising a point of order, Representative Abdullahi Salami had argued that the motion was against Islamic injunction, but Speaker Dogara dismissed it, saying it was more of policy than religions.
We were directed by our Prophet that we should marry up to 4 wives, and the one is allowed, and it is even recommended upon every Muslim to deliver, to born as many as he can. So the moment you are a Muslim, you must believe in that you are free to deliver or to born as many as you want. And even the mover of this motion, Mr. Speaker, I know he must be number 3 or number 4 or number 5 in his family. If we restrict that only 2 or 3 should be born, I know if he is number 4 or number 5, he will have not been in this world. So that's my point of order, Mr. Speaker. This motion is attacking Muslim and Islam. So we are against it. Thank you.
These policies will be developed by Nigerians who are either adherents of Christianity or Islam. It is only when the policies are developed that you can say they are anti this religion or not. But as it is to call for planning, even if it is okay that we continue to add 5 million population on a yearly basis, the truth is that we must sit down and tell ourselves, how do we accommodate this population in the next 50 years? That is the planning. Finish. And then even if you are developing policies, once you have the right department of government doing it, and they come up with that policy, we are still, as representative of the people, we still have the powers to sit here and say, no, they are against this, these policies are not good, or these policies offend this or offend that. But to call for development of policy, I don't see how it is against a particular faith.
Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase has charged officers and men of the police force to respect social-cultural norms of the immediate environment in the course of discharging their duties. He said this during his familiarization tour to the Kaduna State Police Command headquarters. The Inspector General also used the occasion to promote a policeman who had served for 25 years in the same position.
And about 36,000 of you have already gone for promotion courses. I'm sure you are asking me for the results. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before January, you will wear your new ranks. And those of you who attended the inspectorate promotion course too, traffic wardens, the graduate cadre, everybody, that is going to be the federal government Christmas gift to all of you. So, gentlemen, I have mentioned the use of firearms. That is one aspect that Nigerians are not happy about. Issue of brutality to members of the public. They are not happy about it. There's nobody who will be happy about it. So you must be very, very careful. The divisional police officers who are here, you must ensure that the people you give firearms to go to the highway, that they are psychologically prepared to handle such firearms. On no account should anybody shoot anybody on the highway. It is unacceptable, and if you do it, then it means that everything that I have promised you, you cannot access it, because I will make sure that you go to jail. And if you are posted to the highways, I expect that your turnout, this is the way you dress that people will address you. If you find a policeman who is shabbily dressed, naturally, members of the public will not have respect for you. You must be able to carry yourself, as an officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You must walk with a swagger. You must have that self-confidence. You must have that integrity. And the only way you can have it is your turnout.
Following the death of the member representing Kwampan North in the Plateau State House of Assembly in September, the Independent Electoral Commission in the state has scheduled November 28 as the day for a by-election into the vacant seat. Head of Voters Education spoke with a correspondent in this report.
The head of Voters Education Unit of INEC in Plateau State, Osas Osareti, has said in line with the electoral law, a by-election has been scheduled for November 28, adding that all necessary preparations have been put in place to ensure a smooth election in Kwampan Local Government Council.
Well, we've already had our stakeholders forum to let them know what we were putting in place. Presiding officers, assistant presiding officers, collation officers, and supervisory presiding officers, all of them will be trained from next week. The information we gather, that is one area that is a little bit volatile, and the resident electoral commissioner will be briefing the various security agencies. At the local government level there, they have had what we call the ICCS, the Consultative Committee on Election Security. They've already met. The stakeholders have met at the local government level too. And so what we're trying to do, we're even thinking of how to restrict movement.
The INEC official stated that only those who participated in the last general election would be allowed to vote, and that those without their permanent voters card should steer clear of the voting environment.
26,832 picked their permanent voters cards. There about over 400 that didn't pick their permanent voters cards. So what it means is that only those who pick their permanent voters cards for the last election will be allowed to vote. Those who didn't pick cards will not be allowed.
It is expected that the problems faced during the last elections, where incident forms took the place of machine, would not crop up again to disenfranchise legitimate voters.
Governor of Plateau State, Samuel Autumn, has confirmed the death of the paramount ruler of TV nation, CoreTV Alfred Tokula. Autumn, who confirmed the development in Makadi, the state capital, earlier today, said he had sent his condolences to the family, adding that he would meet with members of the TV Tradition Council for proper briefing. The governor said burial plans for the late ruler would be announced subsequently. Apart from safeguarding the unity of the TV nation, the late CoreTV was the chairman of the Benue State Council of Chiefs, as well as the pro-chancellor of Michael Okpara University in Abia State. He died at 71 and had spent 24 years on the throne, having been coronated in April 1991 to succeed Chief Akperan Oshi. Business is next on CoreTV Primetime News. Despite the fall in global crude oil prices, its harsh impact on Nigeria's revenue and the current petrol scarcity in many cities, the federal government is still subsidizing at 10 naira 58 kobo for every litre of the product consumed across the country. That's according to latest figures from the Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Agency. This is coming as full scarcity in Abuja and neighboring states of Kaduna and Nasarawa continues. The queues by motorists at the new filling stations that had the product to sell stretched further than they were previously. Experts in the oil and gas sector have now urged President Muhammadu Buhari to stop subsidizing petrol, explaining that aside from the fact that it would check the illegalities in the sector, it will also bring back some money into government coffers. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has restated that about 39.5 million Nigerians were totally excluded from the financial services system. These include insurance services, pension, and banking services. The bank said greater numbers of persons were excluded from insurance and pension services. A representative of CBN at the microinsurance fair recently held in Lagos, Olayinka Peters, from the Financial Inclusion Secretariat of the Apex Bank, stated this while addressing exhibitors and visitors at the fair. He attributed Nigeria's apathy to insurance, in particular to lack of trust and financial education, adding that the above two problems must be addressed by the insurers in collaboration with the Apex Bank. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has shut Obat Oil and Petroleum Limited Jetty at Bafo for non-compliance with the provisions of the code. In a press release by its head of publicity, Hajia Lami Tumaka, the closure is an exercise of the agency's powers in line with provisions of Part 8 of the ISPS Code, the ISPS Code Implementation Regulations 2014. The facility was adjudged to be non-compliant despite repeated warnings and extension of time graciously granted its management over the past year. According to the release, NIMASA has commenced the shutting of port facilities that have persistently failed to comply with the ISPS code so as to forestall a situation where security breaches in such facilities would negatively impact the compliant ones, adding that any of such firm will be shut down and will remain closed until the managers of such facility correct the identified deficiencies and pay a prescribed fine before they will be reopened for business. The Nigerian Communications Commission NCC has said it would sanction MTN, Airtel and Globacom for defying its directive on automatic migration to pay-as-you-go data bundle. The Commission made this known in its 2015 third quarter compliance monitoring and enforcement report obtained pasted on its website. NCC said it had continued to receive complaints from subscribers on automatic migration of data bundle package to pay-as-you-go billing on depletion of their data bundle. The Commission had on 3rd August 2015 directed all mobile service operators to comply with the data bundle directions, adding that where a subscriber's data bundle account is fully depleted before the due date, service providers should notify the subscriber via SMS, giving information regarding the tariff billing rate for automatic migration. I'll be back with stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. And Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Outside Nigeria, the Turkish military have reportedly shut down a Russian military aircraft on the border with Syria. Russia's defense ministry said an Su-24 had crashed on Syrian territory after being hit by fire from the ground, and that its pilots had managed to eject. But Turkish military officials said Turkish F-16s had shut down the plane after repeatedly warning its pilots that were violating Turkish airspace. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the UK-based monitoring group, said the warplane crashed in the mountainous area of Latakia province, where airstrikes and fighting between rebels and Syrian government forces had been reported earlier on Tuesday. In France, police are examining what appears to be a suicide bomb belt dumped on a Paris street following attacks that killed 130 people. It's said to resemble belts used by the attackers and was found in a suburb which a suspect is thought to have passed through after the attacks. Meanwhile, the United States has issued a worldwide alert in response to the attacks, while the Belgian capital Brussels remains on high alert as schools and the metro were closed today. They are due to reopen on Wednesday, but the highest alert level will continue for at least another week. Authorities fear attacks like those in Paris on 13 November may be carried out in Brussels, where at least one Paris attacker lived. Prime Minister Charles Michel warned that the threat remained imminent. 5 people have gone on trial in the Vatican accused of leaking and publishing secret documents revealing mismanagement in the Holy See. 2 journalists who cited the documents in 2 books will face the tribunal, along with 2 members of a papal commission and an assistant. If convicted, they could be jailed for up to 8 years. Media groups have condemned the trial, with one of the journalists charged calling it an attack on press freedom. The journalist Emiliano Fittipaldi and Giuliano Nuzzi featured allegations of the misuse of charitable and other funds in their books, and merchants in the temple and avarice. The allegations included the lavish refurbishment of apartments for cardinals and others. U.S. scientists say they have now bred a genetically modified mosquito that can resist malaria infection. According to them, if the lab technique works in the field, it could offer a new way of stopping the biting insects from spreading malaria to humans. The scientists put a new resistance gene into the mosquito's own DNA using a gene editing method called CRISP. And when the mosquitoes mate their offspring, inherit the same resistance. In theory, if these mosquitoes bite people, they should not be able to pass on the parasite that causes malaria. You recall about 3.2 billion people, almost half of the world's population, are at risk of malaria. Bed nets, insecticides and repellents can help stop the insects biting, and drugs can be given to anyone who catches the infection. But the disease still kills around 580,000 people a year. And now to sports. FIFA Vice President Michel Platini could be facing a life ban from football, according to his lawyer. The suspended UEFA chief is serving a 90-day suspension on corruption charges alongside outgoing FIFA President Sepp Blatter, while FIFA's adjudicatory committee considers its verdict. Platini's lawyer, Sabotage, said the ethics investigators' excessive recommendations are a scandal. The adjudicatory committee intends to announce its verdict next month. The Frenchman is facing sanctions over a disloyal payment that saw Platini receive £1.35 million from Blatter in 2011 for consultation work done 9 years earlier. Arsene Wenger has criticized UEFA's drug regulations, saying current rules as they stand now basically accept doping. Arsenal manager's comments come after Dinamo Zagreb's Arsene Wenger was banned for 4 years for failing a test after his side's Champions League win over the Gunners in September. Dinamo have not been disqualified from the competition, as regulations state 2 or more players must test positive before that punishment is considered. Arsenal need to beat Zagreb at home on Tuesday to keep alive any hopes of making it to the knockout stages of the Champions League. Wenger, who has spoken out on several occasions on drug issues, revealed that 10 doping control officers from UEFA were present at the Premier League club on Friday. To end CoreTV Primetime News tonight, another look at our top stars. INEC has now scheduled 5th of December for supplementary elections in Kogi State, asks APC to replace Abubakar Audu. The All Progressives Congress has announced plans for a fresh primary election to pick replacement for its demised candidate in the Kogi supplementary election. President Muhammadu Buhari says past government officials who stole public funds have started returning their loot voluntarily. On behalf of everyone here, I am Nifemi. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant night.